July the 9th, 2020. Guys, you're looking at current images of now tropical storm Faye. We never went through the tropical depression stage. A Hurricane Hunter aircraft called back in and said that it now had 45-mile-per-hour sustained winds, which moves it straight into tropical storm status. Notice further south down into the Atlantic, watch the formation of those clouds in that feeder band. It has become not just feeder bands now, but an entire large section of moisture that's going to be pulling into the system. And it's headed straight for the Long Island area. It's going to scrape the coast going there, according to the models. But Long Island is now, and south of there are under tropical storm warnings. But again, in the bottom right corner of this, it's going to present problems. You can see the top of it here as we get closer. And what has happened in the last few frames, the center circulation did shift. They were talking about that this morning. In the last few frames right here, it's an explosion. I'll get closer and you can see. But notice right in the center off of the Outer Banks, right at the very edge of these very tall clouds, and we got some excellent webcam images in this video of what it looks like from land. And guys, you can almost see how the one section of the center of location was pulled apart into the one that's again just off the Outer Banks right there at the point. We got some webcam images of that. Watch this. And so it's starting to wrap itself up tight. Look at this amount of moisture that's involved in these tall clouds. Check that out. Remember those large sails as they're forming, because again the webcams are showing perfect images of what it's doing. And it's really looking like it's going to be a major flooding event, guys, north of North Carolina. You may get involved in some of it, but luckily for you guys, you've been hit a few times already, that it's starting to move away from that area. And the top right side is the loaded side. But Tropical Storm Faye is maximum sustained winds at 40 knots, or 45 miles an hour. Central pressure 1005. It is moving north at 6 knots, or 7 miles an hour. And now they've officially started tracking it. If you look at this, it's a tropical storm now, and the path is going to take it. The center of this path, and the center of the storm can be anywhere inside this white cone, but it's taking it into Long Island, New York. And notice the blue lines there are tropical storm warnings. It's up from there and moving south. What this means is as it moves up, guys, 2 p.m. Friday and 2 a.m. Saturday, you can see where it's at. 2 a.m. Saturday, it's come ashore. The center of circulation is past Long Island. 2 p.m. Friday, it's starting to aim in that direction. So what does that mean? At midnight, Friday night, in that time zone, or that time frame, excuse me, is when the center is going to come across. The worst time it can is at nighttime when you cannot see it. So you need to be making preparations for in the next couple of days. Have some extra water and be prepared for some power outages. You're going to have to watch for tornadoes. But this is coming from NAGS head, and you can get a kind of a further off distance here of the storm. And this is this would be directly west. We're looking directly east from this webcam, but again, you can see those bands here at Hatteras. You can see the top of the waves. It's definitely giving you that tropical look when the tops of the white caps are blown back like that. And a couple of other of these webcams are showing a couple of rain bands, and I think it's right under that burst of orange that we saw in the infrared satellite images a few moments ago. But check this out again. This is Ocean Isle Beach. Look into your center right and into the middle, and to your left you can see a series of rain bands. And this is in that section that's starting to form again to the top right of the storm. And you can see the storm to the right, which is the closest to the camera, is very strong. And so when you start laying this type moisture down for the next 2 days back to back, and increasing now, and tropical storm force winds, you're going to have gusts higher than 45 knots, and it could become a much stronger tropical storm. It's not predicted to become a hurricane, which would be 74 miles an hour. But guys, it's time now to batten down the hatches. We've got a lot of friends all the way up the East Coast, so be prepared for this. And in the low-lying areas, be prepared for flooding. Something like this could really do a lot of damage in New York City because of the subways, and we've seen that happen before. But just be prepared for it. It's not a major hurricane, but it looks like it's going to be strong storms, strong winds, possible some power outages, but a tremendous amount of moisture. Remember what's pulling in out of the Atlantic Ocean behind it, that it's starting to feed off of. And why it's doing that, when we see that large cluster there below Tropical Storm Faye, hundreds of miles away, is that the entire ocean is trying to release heat. And that section and that low pressure that's in that area has found it with the energy that's in Faye. Again, a tropical storm is nothing to play with, but we've seen a large amount of tornadoes spouted. But you can see here on this image that it could be major flooding. It's a heads up, guys. Be safe.